Kids crying.
Tragedy.
Have been struck by a vehicle.
Now, Fort Wayne's NBC News with new interviews unlike any you've heard before.
In the moment, you can't have feelings.
Yeah, everyone in the fort remembers this school bus tragedy last year in Rochester. 3 siblings hit and killed, and a 4th child critically injured as they crossed a state highway to board their school bus. First at 11 tonight, Linda's sit-down interview with someone who played a key role in getting help to that scene.
Tom, imagine being the person on the other end of that 911 call. I actually talked with the Fulton County dispatcher who was trying to keep a woman at the scene calm so that woman could be her eyes and ears. A dispatcher's responsibilities involve split-second decisions and managing stress. They are often the unsung heroes.
October 30th, 2018, State Road 25 in Fulton County.
Reference children that were getting on the bus.
A morning people in the small town of Rochester will never forget.
Have been struck by a vehicle.
The losses of 6-year-old twins Xavier and Mason Engel and their 9-year-old sister Olivia Stahl. Then 11-year-old Maverick Lowe critically hurt.
It was a typical morning. We were fixing our breakfast and 911 rang, and that was it.
Since then, we've heard from family members, investigators, and people who live there, but not from the people on the other end of those emergency calls.
In the moment, you can't have feelings, or you're going to lose it.
Krista Sutton served a decade as an EMT and has been a dispatcher for just over 20 years. She remembers hearing one thing in the background of her call as she got information from a witness trying to keep that woman calm.
Kids crying.
Eventually, when things calmed down, she called her boss, Fulton County 911 Director Gail Karras, who's been in the field more than 20 years. That's when Sutton cried.
And I knew as soon as she said my name, I knew something was wrong. I personally have never, ever witnessed anything like that.
A dispatcher's job requires intense training, multitasking, compassion, and understanding, no matter what.
If they took the time to call 911, that's an emergency to them.
Think about what a dispatcher can hear on the other end of a 911 call. Sometimes it's a person's final breath at a time of tragedy, but other times it can be a baby's first cry.
Oh, you got to keep your calm, otherwise you'll lose control of the caller. You've got to get that information for your paramedics, your firefighters, your officers.
Some of those calls can be so bad, post-traumatic stress syndrome can set in. At that point, it's crucial to recognize the signs, lean on other members of the first responder family or counselors, and deal with it.
When somebody takes a traumatic call, I want to be there for my dispatcher. I want them out of the seat. I want them to take time away.
I talk to my partner a lot. My husband, he used to be on a fire department. He somewhat understands. Talking, yeah.
Both are also faithful.
God will put you in the right place at the right time.
Sutton says she calls people on the other end of the phone by name. She makes it personal.
I, in my mind, try to put myself on scene with them.
When somebody says thank you at the end of that phone conversation, that means the world to us.
That morning of the school bus tragedy, the kind of morning neither woman had ever experienced, remember Sutton had to picture the scene in her mind. The damaged pickup that just hit 4 children. The school bus with its stop arm out and lights flashing. She wasn't there. The day after and still today, a memorial to the children. Sutton didn't take a 911 call for 4 months after the school bus tragedy until a friend of hers called, her husband lying on the floor needing CPR. The outcome wasn't good, but just a couple weeks ago she learned she'd made a difference.
That friend of mine's daughter wants to be a 911 dispatcher. I heard her tell somebody because the influence she had with my mom in her darkest hour. I want to do that. I'm like, yes, that's why I do this.
Sutton answered other calls at work after the school bus tragedy until that 911 call from her friend. You know, several industry studies do point out just how much stress really plays a role in 911 dispatching. Eye-opening information and two very special interviews. My thanks to both women. Tom?